Wow. All right. Welcome back, everyone, to Augment. This is the new show me and TSG are collaborating together on, and it is essentially an evolution from my Future of NFT Gaming series, and it's going to go in a lot more deeper topics, different topics, get so many more guests on. It's still going to have lots of Shiny Shards guests on, so don't worry about that. And plenty of them are going to be a part of this and being involved, and we'll even have some Shiny Shards episodes up for sure. But we're also going to have a lot of other stuff as well. So this is really exciting. So I'm glad you guys are joining us. There's going to be a lot to talk about today and in the future. So don't forget to subscribe to TSG's channel as well, because we're going to alternate weeks. For the most part, maybe it'll be 2 and 2, 1 and 1. It'll be a little bit fluid, but definitely go subscribe over there if you want to catch the other episodes. I'll obviously make a community post whenever it's live somewhere else and things like that. But it'll be switching around, just so you guys know. So thank you guys for joining us today. I've got TSG with me. You guys know a lot about his channel already, but who I should really introduce is Volkin. Now, Volkin's been, he's probably the first or maybe the second Illuvium content creator that's come out of the woodwork. And he's had a channel in the past as well that he still uses, which has a lot of subscribers. He's very well known in the gaming and crypto space now. So he's got a lot. He's really involved. And most importantly for this stream in particular, he's an Illuvium Council member. So he's been having a lot of discussions behind the scenes, trying to make the game as good as it possibly can for everyone involved. Okay, TSG, would you like to say anything?
No, I'm just really excited to start the show, man. We've had chats in the past, and I'm glad we're actually working on this together. And also, yeah, Volkin, thanks for being our first guest. I know, again, always appreciate chats with you. So I'm keen to see where this goes.
That's
How you
all
feeling
good.
today?
I'm good. Just got the old beta access. So had 2 games before this, and I'm fucking dying to get into it. But here we are. Let's do it.
So what are your I don't even know we were going to say that we had the private beta, but now that we did, what are your first thoughts, man? Like, how did you feel?
It's sick. I just played a couple rounds, but yeah, it looks sick. It just like when you watch. Like when you play it on your own PC, the quality is just like ridiculous. Like in the cards, the character, it's nuts. But yeah, we'll definitely get into some more of that in future videos.
Yeah.
Yes. We're going to leave beta where it is right now. I don't know what we're allowed to say, if we're allowed to say or anything. So I'm going to leave it back there. So the land proposal, that's definitely the first thing we want to discuss. There's been a lot of discussion in the Discord already around this. TSG, did you want to ask a few questions about that?
The first, I think the biggest thing, right, is obviously the hike in price, the starting price. So I wanted to ask you, because obviously, we had Kieran's AMA recently, but I wanted to get your perspective and maybe just some back-end inside information as well. But because obviously the community was going on about how the price was too low originally, and the price now is hiked. What I think it was 4 times. It was
4x roughly. Yep. Yeah,
cool. I wanted to ask that. What were your thoughts on that? Were you for that? What was the rationale behind that? Was that any unanimous decision? Was there any conflicting ideas in that behind the scenes? Just tell us as much as you can about that, if you can possibly. Thanks, man.
So for me, I even made a video when the first round of land sale prices came out, and I said in that video that seemed way too cheap, because I just saw that as being instant gas wars selling at that price and stuff like that. So my first thought when we started discussing it was I would like the prices to be increased. To me, I also didn't see an issue with how high the starting price is, as long as the finishing price is reasonable. That way the market can decide what the real price is. However, going into that IIP, my thought was it doesn't matter what the IIP said, there was going to be a lot of debate and discussion around it, because you can never please everyone in a situation like that. And it becomes a really awkward situation where it's because you will get people complaining that it's too expensive because whales can buy, but then if the whales buy it at the inflated price, they can't actually buy as much as they could before, which means later pieces, are more open to the scaling. And it's sort of one of those things that is almost impossible to actually forecast exactly how it'll go. But I just think if you have it too low, and it's going to be sold out at the starting price, it just becomes a really bad experience. And for me personally, I'm still working out what I'm willing to pay for land. And to me, it's a very simple situation. It's like I work out my price. If a piece gets that low, I buy. If it doesn't, then it's selling for too much compared to what I think it's worth. So I won't buy it. And then, if the market decides that it is lower and people are just buying it from FOMO at the start, then I'll buy it off the secondary if it drops. So that's sort of the way I look at it. And I think it's definitely comes down a lot to education and stuff like that, which I know Andrew's working heavily on, to understand how the Dutch auction works and that sort of process. But I definitely think increasing the prices, like from my personal opinion, like I don't want to speak for other members, but like that was something that I definitely agreed with, was increasing the prices.
Cool. I wanted to ask, because previously Kieran kind of mentioned that it was the idea was about a 2x or a 2.5x. Do you know where or how that 4x came to be? Like, what was there a rationale behind that?
Yeah, it was based on if prices were sold at max price. I can't remember the percentages they came up with, but it was like an X percentage of how much SILV was in circulation at the moment. But like I said, to me, I like it's not all going to sell for that price. Like I do not see that happening. I think the starting price is too expensive, and that's what allows the Dutch auction to happen. And I just think scaling the lower end prices is what really needs to be looked at, as opposed to what the starting price is. Because like I said, whales don't want to buy at that inflated price of the starting price, because then they can't actually get as much. So if they do at the start buy those prices, they can't continue that the whole time. So
well, I think the big thing we want to avoid is whales buying them up because they can win the gas war and then flipping them on for the higher price anyways. Really nothing changes. Only this way it's a much fairer system. And if the whales want to buy at an accelerated price, then it's a good chance the ROI might not line up. And then they'll actually have to sell it for lower than they bought it for. And then all of the people that couldn't buy it will actually be getting cheaper prices. So I think this is the fairest system. Even if it has the chance to price out some people, they're going to be priced out anyways, which is really unfortunate. I mean, a lot of lottery systems and the way whitelists and things work it's just a lottery. It's a game of chance, and that's not fun for anyone.
But I think it's also
you go.
No, go for it, man.
I was going to say, like, extending on that, and this is my personal opinions as well. I'm always open to discussion and stuff like that. Land is an investment. It's not a game. It's an investment, because if you want to play the game and the game is what you're concerned about, that's what the tier 0 land is for, where you can play tier 4 land, which is going to be a better gaming experience than playing a tier 1 land. So to me, like, land is an investment, and that is what the main purpose of it is for buying the land. The land game is a game that is meant for fun. But like I said, you can play that game anyway. So it becomes interesting that, like, you see some of the complaints. It's like, it's meant to be for everyone. Why, like, you're pricing people out of the game, but you're not. You're pricing people out of an investment. And if you can't buy a house, like if you can't buy a rental property, you can't buy a rental property.
You're not going to cry about it.
The price, like, in the market's the market. So I understand why people are frustrated, because they feel like they're in Illuvium early and they want to be rewarded by buying land super cheap and then flipping it for a massive profit later on. But at the end of the day, if you let a market decide, then you can't really complain with what the results are. And if it's out of your price range, like I said, it's an investment. You can still play the game if that's what your main focus is.
Yeah, it's funny, because that's exactly what I was just about to say as well. It's like the correlation with, like, housing. It's like people aren't out here crying, "Oh, I'm priced out of housing." It's the exact same thing.
Having said that, housing's pretty fucked at the moment.
It is.
It's fucking getting ridiculous. But yeah.
But it is like you say, it is what it is. And I think, again, like, if the same way that we can't in real life buy land, we find other investments to make. And for those people that feel like they are priced out, seriously consider just putting that money that you would have put in land into the ILV token anyway, because the higher the land is sold for, the more revenue distribution you get anyway. So if you're priced out of land, fair play, but you're not priced out of ILV, because that's just fractionalized anyway. Like, there's still ways to get it, and I think it's just perspective and, like, taking a breath. I think everyone gets heated. Everyone needs to just take a breath and actually see what the fuck is see what's going on.
Yeah, and I've said fuck a million times, so you demonetized anyway. Don't worry. But expanding on what Scoriox said about the gas versus inflated prices. Another thing that I thought about very early on was if it's a gas war, then that extra gas that whales are paying goes to nothingness. If it's inflated prices on the Dutch auction, that extra price that they were allocating for gas, they now allocate to purchase price of the land. And that, instead of going to gas, now goes to revenue distribution.
Correct.
So like that's better for the entire, the DAO as well, in my opinion. So
Yep. 100%.
Yeah,
100%.
we definitely. There's a lot of benefits to having the high prices, and I know a lot of people are upset. But again, there are 5 land sales, and maybe they all sell for a lot of money, and then in the next land sale, firstly, it would dilute the amount land receives, and secondly, maybe they didn't get as much as they expected. In the second land sale, it all is a much better price, anyways. Not to mention, we're probably on immutable by then, so. There's no gas at all. So maybe they do try a different structure, although I think it's still likely to do Dutch auction again, but they could try a different structure. So there's definitely future land sales. Volkin, there has been a lot of discussion about IMX and land and how that's all working in unison. Do you want to tell us a bit more about that?
Well, that's more of a I don't like have the deepest technical knowledge on it, but it's essentially that you're purchasing on Ethereum, minting on IMX. It is the basic gist behind it. Like it's then you can go straight into the Illuvidex and trade on the Illuvidex, and that's the process. But I don't know like the back end deep technical stuff on that.
Why not, man? Why don't you know? No.
Hey, I've been studying the last few nights for it, so I'm trying to become a programmer, and then I'll change my area of expertise. But yeah,
that's funny. I wanted to ask you, man. And I completely understand if you don't want to like give us an answer on this one, but because you said you're obviously for the price increase, was there any discussion or like behind the scenes within the council chambers?
We had
of someone like
Oh, you go. Sorry, you didn't finish.
I was going to say if someone kind of going against that idea. Yeah,
so we and I'm not going to go into too in depth into the exact discussions, but like it's in the minutes of that Dick put out. Rich, sorry. And then I can't stop. There's some funny memes, but yeah, like we obviously discuss both ends and argue both reasonings for it, and then try and come to a balanced point in where we decide. So yeah, it's not like we just go, crank it up higher. Let's just fuck everyone, which is what some people think is going on. It's more of a,
which is absurd.
Yeah, it's more of a just like you just discuss things like we sat and chat for an hour, and it came out to where it came out.
Fair. I wanted to ask you, man.
First, did you do any estimations on revenue and things like that? Because they lined up really nicely in my maths, at least with the production boosts, lined up extremely well with your prices, is what I'm saying. Did you have any discussions on that?
I know you go super deep into like the revenue calculations and stuff like that. That stuff like on a YouTube side of things, like I don't touch that stuff because it leans into that financial sort of, giving people incentive to FOMO in, which I don't like to touch. But like I said, I think you don't like I wasn't personally looking directly at the revenue as my main concern, because I know people like in the space, everyone is like their main concern is I want my ROI. Like that's all. Like in crypto gaming, like the most common thing you see from new people coming in is like, what's the ROI on this? And I think especially with Illuvium Land, you've got to take into the added factor that like, I think with everything, you've always got the asset as well. And I think people buying into Illuvium believe in it long term. So you've got that asset long term, which should, in theory, if you believe in that, hold value. Now, I'm not saying it will. I'm not saying anything like that. But like that is the theory. So saying you need a 1, 2, 3, 6 month, whatever it be, ROI, you've got to remember you still do have the asset. So people need to take that in consideration. On top of that, to me, when I'm personally as a purchaser of land and a player, when I look at it, I also look at all the hints that we've had. Obviously, nothing's confirmed, nothing is in production yet. But Aaron, Kieran, they've all hinted in interviews at future utilities for land, future ideas, expansions for it, and I think that's what I also look at in when I'm weighing it up myself, and everyone's sort of got to work that out for themselves as well.
Yeah, you kind of segued that perfectly. So the question I wanted to ask you was, now that all of that stuff has kind of come out with all this information, what are your personal plans? Have you changed your plans? What are you looking at? What kind of tiers?
I got no idea still. Yeah. I have no fucking. I think I'm just like, because I don't know. I think I'm just gonna rock up to the land sale and go, oh, that looks nice. But no, I'm gonna try and figure out a price range that I'm happy with. I'm keeping in mind that. So for me, it's an interesting one because I'm really keen to figure out how much gameplay the land game is going to have, like how much daily time it's going to take. It's not like, this is from personal preference once again, that's not my favorite style of game.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be feeling like land is a job. Now, obviously you can, land it, pay someone to do it for you and stuff like that. But for me, I don't want to get into this situation where, like, the whole thing I was saying before was like land's an investment.
Yeah.
I'm not as big on the investment side of things. Like I'll get a piece of land, whether it's on auction or aftermarket, as a collector, as something to have. But from an investment side, I don't really care personally. It's not like I've got ILV tokens for my investment and, I'll play the game heaps and it doesn't stress me from an investment side personally. On top of that, like I said, the game isn't my favorite style of game. I'm definitely keen to jump in, play it and check it out, but I don't want it to become something that I don't enjoy doing every day, but I have to do. So like, I don't want to buy heaps of land and then be obligated to do it for that purpose. On top of that, with my SILV, I'm more excited about Illuvatars. So I also want to keep a stockpile for Illuvatars. And then obviously I want to keep an absolute shit ton for when the game comes out. Like my number one priority with SILV for myself personally is game launch, because I want to never run out of credit to keep playing the game all day, every day. That's pretty much where I want to be. So answering the question back to the start of it, I don't know what I'm going to do with land. Haven't decided yet. How about you? What are you doing?
Yeah, Scoriox, what are your plans? We can all kind of say that.
My initial plan was a T2 land. Now, with these new prices, I don't know. I'm going to play it by ear like Volkin. I think by the second day, I will know what I want, and I'll be conveying this to my audience as well. And maybe we'll jump on one of these streams during a land sale, depending on what day 100%. It is, of course. But I'm going to play it by ear as well, because I think that's going to be an extremely important component of deciding what you want. Now, that being said, I definitely will get at least something, so probably a T1. But the other side of it is I'm different to Volkin. I really enjoyed Clash of Clans when I was younger, and those sorts of games, the gacha games, city builders and stuff, they lasted with me for quite a long time. And I think the investment side of things is going to make them last for an even longer period of time. I really enjoyed building up that stuff without earning money. So I think I'm going to enjoy building up that stuff while earning money. You know what I mean? Like, the other side of it is if the game is fun. From what I've seen so far, we haven't seen a lot about kind of enjoyable aspects on it. It does seem a bit like work, but I think it's going to become even more and more enjoyable in the future as it gets more in utility and more updates. So I'm still excited to get into the game, and I think it's going to be really enjoyable down the road. So I definitely want to have something for when that happens.
I think the one thing that could change my mind, because like I'm a gotcha addict, like that's what I love, but that doesn't really look like a gotcha game. The only thing that has that sense to it is the blueprints. If they release it and like there's like a really cool mechanic around the blueprints that looks really addictive to like get that chance at it. Like if I'm coming back clicking every day, it's like you have an X% chance of finding a blueprint today, and I click that, it's like that little dopamine hit. Like, I mean, I'll come back for that and I'll buy land for that alone. But
from my understanding, it is basically a 24-hour period before you can scan a new alluvial. So
so it's like that day. That daily like little like that little hit where you're like is gonna be, and then it's like 30 minutes beforehand you're like getting hyped, and then you do it, you get nothing, and then you're just like, oh shit, I'll wait for tomorrow. Like that would get me going. You know what I mean? That's like the mentality behind it. How about you, TSG?
Man, my original thought, and it still might be a possibility, but after hearing you, I'm kind of realizing I might not do this. Was getting a tier 3. Because I was like, all right, I'll be straight. I actually was not keen on the game. Like, it's just not my type of gameplay. Like, I wanted to get it because I was like, oh man, I'm a content creator. It's stupid of me not to get involved. But the more I looked into it, the thing that got me excited, like you just said, was the skins, the blueprints. I was like, that's a mechanic. Like the gameplay itself to me is like, oh, it's cool. You kind of just press buttons and you it's cool. The open market thing seems interesting, but it's the blueprints. And I was realizing I don't need a tier 3 for a blueprint. And like you said, like if I was looking at a tier 3, I'd be looking at spending pretty much all of my Sylph. And that would kind of leave me out of Illuvitas, which I'm actually more excited for, and the gameplay. So I might settle for like a couple of T2s or like a couple of T1s, give or take. I definitely want to try and flip one. Keep one for myself personally and try and just have another one where I muck about with content, right? Like try different ideas, reposition stuff, just do things like that. So that's my plan now. But I'm excited for the blueprints. I reckon that's going to be interesting. Like you said, that dopamine hit, just the concept of like the marketplace because I'm a huge, like, I love open markets. I love financial stuff, trading, things like that. So seeing how the open market works for blueprints, how people going to keep it, are people going to like craft it and then sell the crafted skin, just things, or sell the blueprint, like things like that. I'm super excited, and I'm excited to see what I'm going to do as well, because I don't know if I'm just going to hoard it all or I'm going to be like the good giving person giving it to everyone.
Yeah, 100%.
We'll find out. We'll find out.
I think with Illuvitas, I'm not as excited because I'm very much, if I can't get the whole set, I don't know if I want to start that journey. You know what I mean? So I'm definitely gonna try and find a Scoriox or something that I really like on the secondary. At many points, like every day, I'll probably check the secondary and be like, "Oh, this one looks like a good price. I really like it." I'll definitely try and find a couple. I'll definitely try and find a couple I want to keep, but I don't know if I want to go down that rabbit hole because like some of the legendary ones could cost you 3 or 4 ETH to buy the box. And like, I don't know how many of them there are going to be, but I cannot afford to complete that collection.
Yeah.
So just extending on that. So we do want to talk a little bit about you and your journey with the council. All right. So first part of that is, how did you get involved in crypto gaming? And can you talk to us a little bit about your mobile gaming and how long that took you to get into that?
Yeah, so mobile gaming I've been doing for about, I can't remember. Okay, my son's 4. So when I had my son, so it's going to be a bit of a tangent here, but hopefully people won't leave and kill you. No, but I was a big WoW player. So I had my son. I remember we had him. He was sitting in the cot in the living room. So I put my computer on the coffee table and I just sit on the floor and play WoW the whole time because all he did was sleep. And then when we woke up, I only wanted the misses. So I didn't really, I was just playing WoW for 6 weeks. It was the best time off work I've had. And I came to this realization. I'm like, when I go back to work and he grows up a little bit, I ain't going to be able to do this. Like, so I had played mobile games for a long time, just like on the side of playing WoW as well. I was like, okay, I think I'm just going to have to stick to mobile gaming. And then I was like, oh, let's look for a new game. I found a game, which is like a no-name dead game now, but there was no content for it. So I just started making content, and that's literally how I started. And then, you just jump through a few games over a while. Like it started off making 1 video a week, and then, got into a game, AFK Arena, which is actually like an auto battler. And that's what really, got me into Illuvium as well. I love auto battlers. It's an idle one on mobile, so a bit different, but, and then you started getting a bit more views, a bit more interest. You started making some money, and you're like, holy shit, this thing could actually do something. And then, it turned into, I was getting up at 2:30 every morning on Saturdays, Sundays as well, and everything, and training in the morning, then recording videos for 2 hours and then going to work, editing on the train on my lunch breaks and stuff like that. And then at the end of end of 2020, I took a redundancy package from work and decided to go full time doing the mobile gaming content creating. Now, at the start of 2021 in January, I found out I'd already always known about crypto, DeFi, all that stuff, but I just didn't give a fuck. Like, it's like, I don't I get it, the basics, but I don't care. So I have to be passionate about something to go deep into it. And then I found NFTs, and I was like seeing all these pictures, like thick Pokemon and stuff like that, and people just drawing known IPs and it's like selling them. And I'm like, is there no licensing in this shit? So I searched licensing, and then I found Vivi, and Omi. Jumped in there, got myself one of the Batman that I've still got. That was the first NFT I ever bought. Then I was like, this Omi token, maybe this does something. I'll just buy into it like an investment. Anyway, in the 4 days it took me to set up my account and get all the verifications done, the token 4x, and I was like, fuck it, it'll still go up. So I just dumped some cash into it. It dumped to about like 30% of what it was. I was like, screw crypto, I'm out. Like, I'm just done with this shit. So yeah, then I just left for a few months, and then it was Seaton who, because we'd played mobile games together in the past, I had a chat with him, and he's like, listen, he's like, and it was actually funny because after I bought that OMI token, the next thing I was going to buy was Illuvium, because I think I saw it on an Alex Becker video. I think it was, I don't know. You know, you get down that rabbit hole. I think he did an Illuvium. He did an Illuvium NFT with his dog, with Scoot. That's what it was. And I was like, oh, so I started looking into it. And like, you know, as you do when you're a complete noob, he goes, everyone should have like, you know, at least, you know, $1,000 of Illuvium when it's at $30 to $40. I was like, oh, financial advice, I'll take it. And so I was going to buy Illuvium. That was the next thing I was going to put money into after OMI dropped. I was like, nah, I'm done. I'm done with crypto.
Oh, man.
So, yeah. And then Seaton got me back into it. He's like, listen, play Axie. It'll cost you a fair bit of money, but you'll understand the concept and it'll get you excited. So I jumped into Axie. I played it for 2 weeks because it was 2 weeks before you could get your payout. Then I took my payout and sold everything because, like, it made me understand it. Like, it got me going on the whole crypto gaming thing, but it was shit. So personal opinion, sorry to any Axie lovers out there, but I just had to get out, which was good. I got out. I made a little profit because I bought 2 aquas and I bred them, and I got like a 99% aqua for anyone that knows. So like I made a profit on that as well when it was on the way down. And like, you know, 2 months after that, it was like I spent $3,000 to get in. It was, you could buy the same team for about $1,000. So I was lucky I got out, but then because I'd seen Illuvium back in the day, I was like, okay, Seaton, fuck this Axie stuff. Screw your scholarships. We're going into Illuvium. So I bought my first Illuvium tokens when it was at like $350. That's when I ended up getting in. And then it was literally like the best thing for me was like I messaged Kieran on Discord. Like I'd never made a video. I hadn't even started my crypto channel. I just messaged him like, hey dude, I'm thinking about starting a crypto channel. I just wanted to find out more about Illuvium. And like he replied to me within like an hour. And then we were just started chatting. And he's like, do you want to do an interview? I was like, sick. And I was like, after playing mobile games for like 4 years, where I'd only ever spoken to one developer after trying with every game, like tens of games, like probably up to 30 games that I've played, always trying to get onto developers. You can only get community managers, and you get straight into the founder. I'm like, this is the space. Like, I was like, this is what I like. And obviously Illuvium being a mix between Pokemon and auto battles, which is the 2 things I just absolutely love. It was just sort of a no brainer. And then, you know, the little piece that they're from Australia as well was like, you know, that little cherry on top. And then, so I started the channel and then obviously did a bunch of Illuvium content, was doing other games as well. I still play a bunch of other games and test them as they come. I don't make as much content because a lot of the things that you play in the space at the moment are just dog shit, and it's literally just Ponzi's. Like it's literally just Ponzi hopping at the moment in the space, and that's why Illuvium, with modeled around a traditional like TCG card game where you have sets and they go out of print. Because I played a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh as well, physical cards Yu-Gi-Oh, which I fucking loved. That was sick. Now I'm just thinking about it. But yeah, like, you know, and then I'm like Illuvium mixed between Pokemon, auto battles, and trading cards. I'm like, this is just it. But yeah, Illuvium's like still the only game that I've really seen that has what I consider to be sustainable enough for me to want to play long term. Everything else, like I said, I try and get in early, flip really fast, just for the fun of the game of trying to make profit in other games. But yeah, besides that, I haven't really seen or played anything that quite matches up to what I think Illuvium will be.
Fair. Yo, Scoriox, did you play Axie Infinity? Did you get involved with that?
I never actually played it. I came into crypto gaming at the point when Axie Infinity was like, 3-4K a team, and I was priced out.
I think I was
I wanted to try it, but again, I was priced out. I was like, I got into Zed Run very early. That was a few months before Axie, I think. Well, not that early, but decent. And my horses just dropped in value off a cliff as soon as I got in. Similar story to Volkin, but I wasn't as invested into that. I mean, I only spent probably like half an ETH total on my stable and sort of thing. And I was breeding a stable together, and I got really emotionally attached to my horses too. I really enjoyed just kind of like, I know who this parent is of this horse and stuff like that. And it was like my own little family, and I would race them all in different races and things. I thought that was a really cool ecosystem, a cool system. And they didn't do the Ponzi token thing like all the other crypto games, like Axie Infinity did. They had Ponzinomics in their breeding, like most crypto games, but it was focused around multiplayer, which is where I like to see a lot of crypto games head in the future, because I think that is quite powerful. But again, the horses and breeding them and selling them was how a lot of people were making money, because the racing, you could make money, but you had to be that top. You had to be the first one to get in, pretty much, which is, again, the definition of a pyramid scheme in itself. But there are systems there to fix that. And I definitely want to talk to the founders a bit more about those systems that I have in mind, because there are some really cool ways to develop this sort of thing.
While we're talking about other games, I got a little funny one for you. So one that I've gotten into, like I actually found it in January because I saw Santiago make a tweet about it. It's called Steppin'.
I wanted to ask you about that.
Dude, my back is fucked. Like I can't move today. Like I limped out of bed because I went from like, you know, it's one of those things like I'm not telling people to get into it because it's bloody expensive to get into. I've gone super deep into it because for me, that one, I went from doing zero cardio. I'm running 10Ks a day now.
That's wild.
But like I said, my body was not ready for it. I woke up this morning, I couldn't bloody move. But yeah, it's basically just digital runners, and you've actually got to physically go in and run. And like, to me, like I like seeing that type of development in the space, because, you know, everything else in the space, like you can put money in and it can go to zero and you have nothing to show for it. And I was like, at least with this, you know, if it goes to zero, I've started getting fit again. Like I've started, because like I'm always like, I have to go to the gym every day, but like cardio, geez, it's like I struggle for motivation. As soon as you put really solid gamification behind that with a potential to earn as well, dude, like I like, there's no way I would have run 10K otherwise.
Yeah. Can you explain, because we've had chats about it and I've seen like other stuff and I haven't done my own research about it, but like, can you explain how that actually works? Like what the process of like the gamification is? Yeah,
it's pretty much think Axie, where you can breed shoes to get new shoes, except they limit how many players can come into the game because they don't want the hyper growth into massive cataclysmic fall. But yeah, you breed shoes, you get more shoes, except unlike Axie, where it's like, let's make a bunch of 3 Axie teams, throw them to scholars and all that. There's no scholarships in it. There's incentive to get up to 30 pairs of shoes. There's a shitload of token burning. It's just a much more balanced ecosystem. If their economy is looking, you know, out of whack, like maybe the token's too high or the shoes are too low, they'll do events. Like if they like, okay, we need more shoes in the ecosystem to sort of bring that into check, they'll do like like they did an event where it's like when you breed your shoes, you've got a higher chance of breeding twins, which means you get a bonus shoe. So that then lowers the price of shoes because there's a higher supply, but also increases the price of the token because people are buying more of the token to burn it to mint to breed the shoes and shit like that. So it's just a lot. It's very Axie like. That's why I don't like telling people to jump in. But it's a lot more controlled and the devs are just a lot better in my opinion.
So it's like just like let me see if I get this right. So essentially so you're like you say, you get essentially paid, you get your rewards for the amount of running that you do. And the different shoes have different efficiencies, I guess. So like higher ranked shoes would mean that you get so a higher stated shoe would mean that you get more rewards on the same distance or whatever.
Same time. They base it off of time. But it's like you need like For someone with 1 pair of shoes, you can only earn for 10 minutes a day. For someone with 4 pairs of shoes, you can earn for 20 minutes a day. I've got 9 pair of shoes and one of them's uncommon. So that gives me 10 and that gives me 50 minutes of earning per day. So
are you maximizing that? Are you actually like maximizing the 50 minutes? Are you doing that?
Yeah. Like I said, on my back's like today, I'm just going to slap on one of my walkers and earn jack shit because I can't actually, like I physically cannot run today. I'm just cooked.
That's funny. Have you been doing this every day?
For the last like 2.5 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, good on you, man. Jesus, that's fucking sick. That's fucking
I need a reason to do cardio, that's for sure.
Yeah, literally, it's just like because people pay money all the time to do cardio, like to for fitness motivation and shit like that. And I'm like, well, this kind of makes sense, and it's like gamification. And like I look at like the future prospects. I don't want to get caught up on this too much, but it's like because they've done it basic and it's literally just digital shoes and you run collaboration potential. Think about something like Illuvium where it's like, okay, if you have an alluvial, you take that alluvial on a run with you, you get bonus stats to your shoes, and maybe you gain experience for your Illuvium. It's like stuff like that. Like, because they're so basic, I'm like, that's cool for collaboration. But yeah, anything to promote healthier lifestyle is something that I'm a really big fan of.
Yeah. I think it's a really powerful note to take from that, where in Illuvium you need to set a certain amount of time to actually go in and play that round of catching alluvials and things like that, because time gating these things is really important. I don't know how long it took in Axie Infinity to do your dailies, but as soon as the amount of Axies you breed gets too many, it's way too easy for their inflation to just go through the roof, right? I think when you time gate it, even if you have 500 alluvials, you only have so many hours in the day, right? So it gets capped at your own ability, and then the number of players plays more of a role. Whereas in Axie Infinity, the number of players is less important, because if 10 players have 500 Axies, then it kind of breaks it anyways. So I think it's a really interesting thing to see, and it gives me hope for Illuvium moving forward as well.
100%. Expand. I just want to expand on that for a sec, because like Illuvium is huge in that. Like, so think about opening a pack of Pokemon cards. You know how you get that massive hit when you're about to open it. You're scrolling through, and then you you hit the whatever it is, and then it's like you got it's the rare card behind it. And you're like going, you're like, is it? And it's like that is over in a second. When you play a gotcha game and you do a summon, it's over in a second. Illuvium just prolongs that experience and that feeling, because you're going on a half an hour to an hour exploration journey, which normally happens in, a fraction of a second when you're, opening cards. And that's what I really like about it. It's like that feeling gets accentuated, and you actually like, I just feel like the whole time you're exploring, it's going to be like incredibly fun.
Yeah. And I think like you say, the way they kind of prolong it as well, because you're going to go out there and then you're going to find it, right? And then you're going to have to battle it. So that anticipation of, that's the one I want. And the hype builds of, I need to win the battle festival. And once you win the battle, then you have the chance of, do I like the chance of getting it? Because it's not always 100%. So it's like, is this constantly building and building and building and building? And I think that's just going to be the reward, or like, the downside is going to be so big, and it's like, I get the whole 100%. Breaking keyboards. I get it. It's going to be sick, man.
When Grant was streaming the other day, we were talking about it while he was streaming, and it's like you'll get to this point where, like, if it's a tier, say it's a tier 2 alluvial, and it's like maybe it's a holographic one. I'm using a tier 5 shard, to like guarantee my catch on that every day of the week.
100%.
But once you get to tier 5s and you have, say, a tier 5 holographic, you can't go past the tier 5 shard. So you genuinely have like whatever percent they decide that chance is, you've got like this set chance that you can't control, and it's just you're just not going to get it. And it's that is going to be so intense.
It's going to be fun, man. It's going to be fun as hell.
There's a point I definitely have to bring up here, because this is probably, you guys talk about all that, but here's my favorite part of this entire exchange, is that it is time. It is not money, and that is beautiful. So the big thing that they're doing, and I hope they don't change this, although it's quite possible at some point anyways, but the shards don't break if you fail, okay? So if you fail to capture that holographic fire, you do not lose your T5 shard. Now, what this means is you're disappointed, you need to find it again, but at least monetarily, you don't get completely shafted. And that is extremely powerful, because that is a good way to kick players out of your ecosystem.
Yeah.
So
that would like, if people don't rage quit because they miss out on the holo tier 5, they're definitely rage quitting if after that you fucking don't get your shard back.
Can you imagine?
100%.
Can you imagine?
There's a lot of that. So it's still all time gated. You need to spend time to perform well and to get what you want, but it's not gated with your price. You're investing a certain amount, and you just need to spend more time to get to where you need to go. Obviously with the travel fees, maybe it takes a little bit of money, but there's a lot involved in that, and it's really fantastic. Just a funny story about opening the Pokemon cards. I actually opened some Pokemon cards this morning.
Oh shit!
I got my son into it too. It's the best.
My partner got me into it recently, and I opened a full art Charizard V-Star, which I didn't know its value or whatever. I mean, my partner made me look it up, but it's $500 Australian. Woo. People are selling it for
the old 5,000, mate.
5,000, yeah.
It must be the most valuable card in that set and the past couple of sets. It's I don't know. People love Charizard. That is what
every
it is. I don't
set
want to
every
delve
set of
into that.
Pokemon cards now has a Pokemon cards now has a Charizard. It's like because they know like that's gonna make people like just like the whole Pokemon card like secondary market is like it was cool at the start. Now it's just stupid because you can tell the Pokemon that like they're playing it. They're like every set has a Charizard because it's the most expensive. People will buy packs. Like the whole Pokemon card game to like the whole selling secondary markets game is just like it's gotten really bland to me. It's like because they've seen it and now they're just exploiting people on it. In my opinion,
do you reckon it's gonna? Do you reckon it's gonna go anywhere? Like, do you reckon it's gonna like? People are going to catch on to this and kind of turn away, or do you reckon it's still going to be a market for it?
I'm not deep enough in it. It's just like it just annoys me. It's like every set is like, oh, now there's a shiny Charizard in this one. Now there's a full art, and it's just like that you can tell that they're playing on the fact that the secondary market is so huge and they're selling out pre-sales of these boxes so quick. And then, they've got like the battle boxes or whatever, like, which are like the limited, like early access ones that people get. And then those are scalping and it's just, it gets a bit filthy, but yeah, sorry, Scoriox, you keep going. Like pulling the Charizard is hype nonetheless.
It's sick.
You make though, because this is a really important connection we have to make when we're looking at Illuvium, because you'll find the Pokemon cards, they weren't valuable until 10 years down the road when you couldn't get them anymore. Okay, it's the same thing with Illuvium, but it's important that they don't overinflate it because Pokemon risk doing that, but it's not really a big deal because you'll find with Pokemon cards that the majority of people collect them because they want the card. Okay, and the goal for Illuvium here is to create the cards of the Illuvials and the in-game viewing and playing with them and all that. You have to create that connection to the person, that emotional attachment, that attachment to the first Illuvial they ever caught, the first holographic Illuvial they ever caught. You have to build those emotional connections. Otherwise, the amount of supply you have is going to be too much because you need people taking the supply away. And that is just how economics work in this ecosystem. What do you think, TSG?
Yeah, no, I agree. I completely agree. I don't really have anything to add about that. The thing I think with that for me, I'm actually looking forward to, in my perspective, with the Illuvium ecosystem in general and like the IP, is like you say, with the Pokemon cards, they got valuable like 10 years later. And I think for me personally, I keep that in mind, like when looking at Illuvium as well, like the Illuvials that we catch, that I don't think they're going to just skyrocket and I don't think they're going to go nuts. I think maybe 5, 6, 7 years, once we actually have like a kart racer game and all of these other games where those original Illuvials are still playable in the new games, that's when we're going to start to see actual price appreciation that's going to mean something. Yeah, like once you get like a Diablo-esque game, Volkin, jump in.
Sorry, I was just going to say, for me, you're getting more into a competitive card. I know Pokemon has its competitive side, but I don't think old cards really become meta in Pokemon. Whereas, I used to play Yu-Gi-Oh, and there was a common from like one of the first 5 sets, and it was always on the ban list. And it was just a common, and they decided No. It was Vanity's Emptiness, if you want to look at it. When it's a permanent trap card, and no one can special summon.
That's anyway. So nuts. That's so nuts.
That's special summons weren't a big thing until later on in the games.
Yeah, so like when the game was first out, it was like everyone was just normal summoning. So like, what's this shit? So no one cared. But anyway, they banned it for ages, and then it came off the ban list. Then you had this common from an early set, which I actually picked up at the local shop. They had their commons binder. I actually picked up 6 of it once it came off the ban list. I went there as soon as I saw it and went and picked them up, and they were selling for $60, these commons. So it's like, I think that's where Illuvium comes into play. It's like, I know Aaron's always says there's not going to be a meta, but there's always going to be a perceived meta to the community based on, and that's where, as content creators, I think it's a very interesting space for me to be a content creator in personally, because I always like to share everything, my opinions on everything, and all that sort of stuff. But then it's like, I don't want to impact people to go whaling into something, if you know what I mean. So it's a very interesting space for me to be making content in. But I definitely think in terms of like in the future of Illuvium, like actually knowing the meta, looking at what's coming and being able to play the market like that is going to be a big field for some people to really capitalize on. But and some people really enjoy that.
Yeah, 100%.
That's the big thing with Illuvium is there's like 7 or 8 avenues that are gamified. So I'm hoping everyone will find one thing that they specialize in that will keep them coming back. Because that's really retention is what we're aiming for here. And I think they've done a good job of trying to capture that. I think Illuvium Zero is a good example of this, because without Illuvium Zero, there would be no mobile game for 6 months, which is a big deal. That is actually, that's a pretty important facet to gaming in general. So just even if it's not good, I mean, I'm sure it's going to be good, but even if it isn't super engaging or whatever else, at least it's there, and at least it's a part of the ecosystem, and it's a great proof of concept for the team and what they're capable of and all the rest of it.
See, for me, I just wanted to expand on that. I see Illuvium Zero as one of the greatest marketing tools for Illuvium, because if you can get it on the Play and App Store, and this is a bit scummy, but I've seen so much scummy shit in mobile games that's not funny. But it's like you put some of the, on the slides when you click on a game and you can see pictures of like gameplay, you put a couple slides of the actual Illuvium game. Then when you jump into Illuvium Zero, it gives you like a clip of what happens in the normal Illuvium game. And it's like, play the full game, download it on your PC app, whatever.
Yeah.
Then it's like,
connect to the universe, I think.
It's like, it's just free. It's like marketing. It's like people jump in and goes, that looks actually cool. What? I can download them on PC. Okay. This is like the side game. Okay. That's how I see Illuvium Zero, as a massive marketing tool, but I'm not a marketer. I don't know. I'll let Andrew decide on that shit, but that's just my brain, how I work.
That makes
Facebook. There's Facebook mobile game ads, and there's just like StarCraft 2 and
the funny thing, it's like all the ones with those ads with like big 3D cinematics, they're all city builders. And I'm like, the more I say this, it sounds cringe, but I definitely think it's a good idea.
Age of Empires 3 and 4, and just like on their ad, those ones kill me. I have a lot to say about that, but I'm not going to get into it. So I think the last thing we should talk about here, maybe before we jump into some Q&A or something like that, is the ILV token. That's something we haven't discussed in quite some time, and we've had a big focus on land, and we discussed maybe if you're priced out of land, buying the ILV token. So I definitely want to circle back to that. Do you see ILV token appreciating a lot over the next 12 months, or do you have any idea of kind of where you see the Illuvium ecosystem as a whole going? The games, the meta, the token, whatever. Just like, I'd love to get your thoughts on that, both of you guys.
So this is interesting because I know you guys, like if we have personal conversations and stuff like that, like I have my degen strategies and stuff like that and my thoughts, but I hate saying that stuff publicly, because like a lot of the things, like I've got like a complete gamble thing that I'm doing with SILV, like if the situation arises, but I don't like talking about that publicly, because like I say in the space, I'm more of a gambler in the space than a proper investor. I'm not like, I don't have the knowledge to know that my play is going to be the right play. So I hate saying stuff. And then if people piggyback onto that and then they get wrecked, like I am not investing in the space. Like I consider my ILV tokens, my SLP stake as an investment, but nothing is certain. And I said, I just hate doing the financial advice. It's like, I hate blurring that line. It's just not what I'm about. So I don't want to go too deep into that. I'll let you guys have the conversation around that. But
what about the Illuvium Studio and its aspirations? What do you think about that?
I've always said this. I think it's ridiculous when you look at a bunch of the other protocols in the gaming space where everyone's like, look at it, they're a studio, they're producing like 15 games at the moment. I'm like, why the fuck do you care if they're producing 15 shit games? Make one good game and then move on to the next. So like, I believe that Illuvium is actually the best studio in the space, but people just don't view it as a studio yet because they're focusing all in on, well, 2 games because you got Illuvium Zero, but pretty much focusing all in on one game. And it's like, I think that will click with a lot of people in the future once they start developing the second main game as such. Like I said, some of the valuations you see on some of these gaming studios, it just blows my mind when I'm like I could rip shreds out of a couple right now, but I'm not going to do that. But like, it's just like,
it doesn't make sense. Man.
None of the games are great. Like, it's just like, it's like, yes, you've got 7 games that are playable now, but I don't want to touch one of them.
I actually wanted to tee up a pretty easy one for you before, and we kind of got sidetracked, but you kind of like put me in a position again. Again, I know we shouldn't be comparing and whatnot, but considering that you're the only person here that has played Axie amongst us, and you've also, like you said, you tried out the private beta. How do you compare those, man? Like on it, like gameplay wise. Don't look about everything else. This is just shit on it, man. Just shit on it. Speak your shit.
Okay, so I'm going to do something different here. So the thing, I really didn't like Axie. I didn't like the developers. I didn't like a lot about it. However, if it was actually like, I don't mind card games. Like if Axie was developed better and like better visually, it's not too bad. Like I've got one of the other boys that me and Seaton played other games with is now like he's like pushing ranks in there all the time and he's loving it. That's Spam and Rice. He's on Twitter and shit. But like he's having a lot of fun and I see him having fun and I know we've played competitive games in the past together and I'm like, okay, I do see that Axie can have competitive fun and if I got into it, I could actually have fun myself, but it's like there's too many factors of it that have just been half-assed and like they don't develop the shit and it's just like, don't get me started on the hack. Like I'm not big into like that side of things, but the moment I heard it was like 5 or 6 days before they found out, I'm like, dude. Jesus. And then because I listened to like literally my entire knowledge on the Axie hack, I don't do the research on that myself. I just listened to Santiago's podcast and they had again an episode talking about it. And it's like apparently there's like a 5-key system and like you need 5 of the 8 keys to authorize shit. And like 4 of the keys are held by the same wallet or something. Yeah. And so they like they didn't even hack it. They just like I don't know, like, you know, socially hacked, like, you know, scammed someone and got 4 and then scammed the other guy and got the other one and then withdrew all the money. I'm like, Jesus Christ, how do you like because I've been in the Illuvium space and like we know how like obsessed Aaron is about everything and like, you know, when we had the SILV hack, like they were onto it within minutes and I'm like, how do you go 6 days without even noticing that? So I think Axie, like I said, Illuvium shits on it 100%, but an Axie style game still can be good. It's just like Axie economics are shit. Axie displayed is like the visualization of it is shit. The team, in my opinion, isn't the greatest. But I don't want to completely shit on someone who's having a crack. But, but like the actual gameplay in the right ecosystem could actually be fun, and I could deeply theory craft it if it got competitive enough. But
with that, like, let's not go super like negative because I kind of teed you up to go that way. But I'll try and save it now. Like, do you reckon that Axie as the brand, because they've obviously built that brand, right? Do you reckon they, like you said, a game like Axie, do you reckon Axie still has a chance to kind of come back up and
yes, they've got that much money. They just buy a studio and buy a good game and away you go. Like, I just feel like when you've got that much money, you're a threat. You're a threat to this. Like, you can do stuff when you've got that much. Well, I don't know how much they've got now because they lost 600 mil, but like, you know, like when you got capital, you can do stuff if you have the people making the decisions who know how to deploy it. And that's what I don't think they have at the moment. But I'm a complete outsider. I'm not deep in the Axie space. This is all surface level. Obviously, I'm an Illuvium person, so I'm biased as fuck. Yeah.
I think the land sale was the thing that rubbed me the wrong way. I think they already had enough money to do something to their game, future games, and so on. And then they made a land sale to get more money. I don't know why anyone would do that. That just, unless they had something tied to the land sale instantly. It seemed like a really strange play, and honestly, I just wanted to see them do something with what they started. They started something amazing, and a lot of people are going to benefit from it. I just would have liked them to just take it further. That's all. Okay, just on that, we should start wrapping this up in the near future. So, is there anyone that has some questions in the chat down below that would love to ask me, TSG, or probably better to ask Volkin in this case?
Volkin, I did see a comment though earlier when you were talking about the step in. Someone was saying that they're looking forward to a shirtless picture or something like that, saying that you're going to be looking ripped.
I got to get back to my like you know how everyone's like it's always like for chicks it's like, you know, the pre-baby body is like a thing because obviously they have, man, I didn't even birth the child and man, the baby's turned me to fat prick, so I gotta get back there, you know what I mean? Like I gotta get back to my pre-baby body. We'll get there
pre-baby body there. That's funny as hell. Are there any questions?
Who's going to win in PvP between us three? That's from Dipsa Takeover. I still don't know how to pronounce his name. Good guy, though.
Definitely me. Nah, it's not.
Definitely
me.
me.
So here's the funny thing for me. You know, like I find it funny when we watch Grant, Kieran, and Dick, and when they all do their streams on Discord, and it's like everyone's a backseat driver, and it's like you have no idea until you play.
Nah.
I don't care how much experience you have in anything else. You just like me personally. I watched hours. I jumped into it, and I'm like. I just feel like I'm going from scratch. Like I don't like my brain doesn't like get the knowledge until I make mistakes myself and go, that is exactly where I messed up. Watching someone does nothing for me. At the end of the day, you know, who cares? As long as if I lose, I'll make other content because I suck and I'll get you guys on to give the pro tips. That's, you know, I'm fine.
That's it was funny. Like win or lose is content. Like with the wager, how I lost that, I was in my mind. I was like, all right, if I win the wager, I have content. If I lose the wager, I have content. Like, it's all good fun, right?
At the end of the day, I've just always loved PvP in games, like even gotcha games that are heavily pay to win. It's just like, to me, it's all about doing the best with what you have. And like I used to do in Pokemon, where I used to play Pokemon Showdown, which is like an emulator. I used to just love making like mono teams. So one element teams, themed teams, and climbing as high as you can in a ladder with those types of teams. Like I know for me, like I don't care what the meta is when Illuvium comes out. I'm getting myself the polar bear and a stabbin, and I'm making a frost team from the start. I don't care because that is what, like, I just love those characters. And I'm probably going to look at doing like a team based around water, like at the moment, early theory crafting around water, wind, and nature, because my other favorite is Riplance, the scorpion, which is poison. And then you have the water buffalo, which is poison as well. So between those three elements, I feel like I can make it, because then you've got some really strong spore units as well. And so you've got spore, you've got frost, and you've got poison. And then I feel like between those three, I can make like a really synergistic team. And we don't even have all the alluvials yet. So I find fun to be the number one thing. Obviously, if you get really competitive, then laddering is a thing with whatever meta is, but it's just never as fun in games just to play meta. It just gets boring to me.
It does.
To go back to what Volkin said, firstly, I think TSG would win. I think he's more involved with it than the other.
No, 100% not.
Have been in it yet.
100% no. I was taking the piss. I'm definitely trash. I'm trash.
Going back to what Volkin said, with you don't know the game until you play it. You can backseat drive it. I think the biggest thing with this survival mode is the randomized deck. I think I'm going to suck because of that.
Yep.
Even with teamfight tactics, people play every deck at least once and then practice a deck over and over, like a style or a synergy over and over before they get good at it. In the survival mode that they're going right now, from what we've seen, it's a randomized deck. I feel like I would get stomped every time because I have no idea what I'm playing and I have to learn every alluvial before I have a chance at doing well. And that is a lot of work and a lot of time, which is, I mean, you got to add longevity to the game. That's important to me. So I think this is great. I'm excited to get into it and get start trying it. But yeah, I think it's one of those things that it's going to be a lot harder than you might think, even if you've watched every single video that's out there. So the next question we've got is Harry Larry McNary. Wow.
Oh, Jesus.
Any guesses on game launch? Now I'm gonna step right on this one here. They've postponed the token unlock till June 30. I'm not saying the game is going to launch on June 30, but I think they know just as well as the rest of us that something has to happen on June 30 or just before and things like that. I don't think that's going to be land sale. I don't think it's going to be Illuvitars. My next guess, if it wasn't the main game, would be opening up the private beta to everyone and adding some competitive elements to it. That is what I think at a bare minimum will happen. The game launch itself, I have no idea. What do you think, TSG?
Yeah, honestly, the same. I think something's going to happen. When the game comes out, I don't know. But again, as long as we see progress, like we're obviously seeing progress, like it doesn't, just relax. Everyone needs to take a deep breath, relax, understand things happen in life, in the space. We kind of just need to adapt. There's no strict guide. Like we're all trying to just do the best we can.
I think, well, Kieran said publicly they want something for everyone by the end of June. Like that's like their pretty rigid stance. They want something for everyone.
Which makes sense. Yeah.
Yes, 100%. But I also think it's sort of funny in this space where it's like, because I don't have the deep knowledge of the back end of crypto, it's like if you rush things out a month early and there's a problem in that side of things, you're just fucking done. Like, like I feel like there's a lot of like just breakpoints where it's like there's no coming back from that. And like,
you're right.
As much as like I'm also like, man, I just like, where's the fucking game? Come on, we said December. Like, I started making content in like fucking July for this game because I was like ready for December. But it's like at the same time, I ain't gonna have anything to play if they fuck something like that up and there's something not right in contracts and. You know, I don't know, but yeah, it's very high stakes to be rushing things. However, you know, managing expectations is very something that hasn't been like the greatest in the Illuvium side of things. But I think we can agree like that is like the one downfall in the Illuvium project. I think everything else sort of speaks for itself.
Yeah. And I think for me personally, I think like you say, because everything else speaks for itself, it kind of makes up for that downside that they have. Like, I'm not going to like cuss them out for it and be like, yo, you guys I'm not going to focus on the one negative when there's so many positives to look at. Like, address it and acknowledge it for sure. But like, it's just stupid to kind of focus on that. And yo, a fun question for you, man. Volkin, where did you get the name? Where did the name come from?
Oh, this was fucking, wow. When Mr. Pandaria came out, I was like, okay, I'm going to play a monk. And I just did the random name generator. And it wasn't Volkin, but it was like a bit different. I was like, I just changed like 2 letters and I was like, oh, that sounds cool. And then I went with that. And like stuck. Literally since then, that was like just, I don't know how but that was the one character that stuck. That was the one I mained and then sort of progressed from there.
Yeah, fair. Scoriox, how did you get your name, man?
My name? I asked Aaron.
Funny as hell.
I asked Aaron if he has any suggestions for a name, and I said the sort of things I liked in a name and kind of my existing name, and I kind of wanted to go along those lines. He said, what about Scoriox? I since found out on that recent stream that Scoriox is his favorite alluvial. I don't know if that had something to do with it. But he suggested Scoriox, and I said, are you happy for me to use that for YouTube? He said, go for it. And here we are.
Sick. What's TSG stand for, by the way?
Honestly, it's my real name. It's just the initials to my real name.
Like, what's your first name?
My first name is Taran.
What's your Scoriox?
Jason.
How shit to real name? Mine's is Kevin. I literally so get this.
Yeah, we get real personal now.
How shit are real names? No. How's this? Seaton this morning. I'm not gonna expose it, but we've known each other for like years. I found out his real name today.
Yo, it's wild. It's fucking wild.
I was like, whoa, that's not your name, dude. That doesn't match. How is that your name? Yeah, it's crazy in the space. Yeah.
I was talking to like my homies and like my wife and that. I was like, yo, it's wild. Like this whole Ready Player 1, 2 world thing. It's like, we somewhat already like, again, we haven't met in real life. We don't know each other's real names. And like I say, if I say Volkin, I think of you. If I think of Scoriox, I think, and it's just like, it's crazy like that. Hey.
To be fair, Scoriox works like 10 minutes away from where I live.
Oh,
so we should catch up. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm the only one left out.
Yeah.
When I'm back in Australia.
100%.
Yeah. That's funny as hell.
All right. So we better start wrapping up. We've run a bit over an hour now, and I like to keep them a little bit brief if we can. We've answered some good questions. I just want to say thanks heaps, Volkin, for joining us on the channel.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it.
And a quick reminder to everyone, don't forget to subscribe to TSG and Volkin down below. And next week, it's going to be on TSG's channel. If there are delays or anything like that, I will definitely keep you guys informed, and so will TSG. But this will be happening as weekly as we can. We're still working through the weeds with it, but super excited to share this with you guys. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Volkin. Thanks for being the first
thanks
guy.
for having me, boys. Back to beta.
Excited.
Hey.
Yeah, let's go. Easy.
All right, we're not